The City of Ann Arbor has resources on its website to support buildings benchmarking to comply with the city's energy and water benchmarking ordinance. These resources are available on the city's benchmarking website, a2gov.org/benchmarking. There is a variety of information on this webpage, including the full text of the ordinance itself. You can also find background information on the ordinance, if you're interested in how the ordinance was developed and implemented. In the Key Dates section of the website, you will find the deadline for the current benchmarking reporting cycle. This date is the deadline for reporting the previous calendar year's benchmarking data. For example, the June 1st, 2024 deadline is the deadline to submit calendar year 2023 data. Some buildings who are required to benchmark based on their gross floor area may be exempt based on the exemptions listed in the ordinance itself. If you believe your building is exempt for one or more of the reasons listed in the ordinance, complete the exemption request form on the benchmarking website. Benchmarking is an annual requirement. If your building may be exempt for multiple years, you will need to complete the exemption request form each year. Buildings that benchmark to the City of Ann Arbor have unique identifiers referred to as Ann Arbor Benchmarking ID numbers. These are linked to an individual building or to a campus, or a collection of two or more co-located buildings that act as a single property. An example of this could be a multifamily housing complex that has multiple buildings. You can find your building or property's benchmarking ID number in either the Excel file or PDF file on the benchmarking website. This lists the current year's benchmarking IDs linked to a street address or a tax parcel ID number. This list may be updated yearly as new buildings are built, buildings add additions, buildings are demolished, or buildings become occupied or lose their occupancy. If you do not know your benchmarking ID number, you can find it in this list. If you received a notice that you are required to benchmark, but you cannot confirm your benchmarking ID number, contact the city's benchmarking team at benchmarking@a2gov.org. If the contact information for your building changes year to year, or this is your first time benchmarking, the city recommends you complete the contact information form on the benchmarking website. This ensures that the city has up-to-date information for your building and can keep you up to date on benchmarking during each year's benchmarking cycle. Once you're ready to benchmark your building, the benchmarking website has resources to guide you through the actual benchmarking process itself. When starting to benchmark, it may be helpful to read through the frequently asked questions on the benchmarking webpage. This is a list of frequently asked questions that buildings often have when benchmarking. It may be helpful to read through these questions and get a background on what you are about to do. This will also answer questions that are likely to come up as you benchmark. The benchmarking process itself has multiple steps, each of which are detailed in the benchmarking compliance checklist. The city recommends that you read this checklist before benchmarking to get an idea of the steps you'll need to take in the process itself. As you start to benchmark, you can follow this checklist to ensure you complete each necessary step. The benchmarking website also has a step-by-step how-to guide for benchmarking. This includes how to check if your property is required to benchmark, setting up an Energy Star Portfolio Manager account, and adding your buildings or properties, gathering energy and water use data and entering it into Energy Star Portfolio Manager, when to report your building or property as an individual building versus a campus, connecting your account to the City of Ann Arbor to share data, and how to report your data either manually or by sharing data in Energy Star Portfolio Manager to automatically report data year to year. If you require assistance benchmarking, the Ann Arbor 2030 District can help. The 2030 District is a nonprofit that collaborates with the city and offers free benchmarking support. you can contact their team at A2Benchmarking at 2030districts.org. The first step for benchmarking is setting up your buildings in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is detailed in the how-to guide the city has created, but Energy Star Portfolio Manager also has guides for setting up your property and just getting started using the program in general. Gathering complete and accurate energy and water data is an essential part of benchmarking. Buildings in Ann Arbor may get energy, including electricity, natural gas, or propane, from multiple utilities. The benchmarking webpage lists guides for collecting data from DTE for electricity and natural gas data, Constellation for natural gas data, and the City of Ann Arbor for water data. Complete data for an entire calendar year must be gathered to fulfill the requirements of the ordinance. If you are benchmarking a building with multiple tenants, you can get aggregated data from DTE if you are a DTE customer using DTE's Energy Data Hub. At the time of this recording, April 2024, building owners must be an Ann Arbor 2030 district member to access the DTE Energy Data Hub. Contact the 2030 district at A2Benchmarking at 2030districts.org to get started. If your building has 5 or fewer tenants, you are required to get authorization from the tenants to get aggregate whole building energy data from DTE. Follow the process outlined on the benchmarking website if you are required to get tenant authorization for your building-wide data. To get your water use data from the City of Ann Arbor, follow the Benchmarking Water Data Guide in the Water Data with the City of Ann Arbor section of the website. Once you have gathered your energy and water data, you will need to report this data to the city itself. 2 important things to check before reporting is your data quality and whether you linked your Ann Arbor Benchmarking ID to your buildings or properties in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. Your benchmarking ID must be linked so the city can verify which buildings have reported. Energy Star Portfolio Manager has a data quality checker tool to review your data for mistakes, omissions, outlying data, or other errors that may prevent compliance with the benchmarking ordinance. To run the Energy Star Data Quality Checker, log into your account in Energy Star Portfolio Manager, click on the property or building you want to check, and in the Data Quality Checker section, click Check for Possible Errors. Reporting benchmarking data itself can be completed in one of 2 ways. You can submit a manual benchmarking report or connect your property to the City of Ann Arbor and automate your annual benchmarking report. The city recommends sharing your data through Energy Star Portfolio Manager for automatic sharing. This reduces the amount of work you need to do each year to benchmark. However, if you choose to benchmark manually each year, the links to submit a manual benchmarking report are listed at the bottom of the benchmarking website in the Submit a Benchmarking Report in one of 2 ways section. In number 2, manually submit a benchmarking report. If you have questions, concerns, or issues benchmarking, you can reach the city's benchmarking team by emailing benchmarking@a2gov.org.